We are excited to host you for this year's summit under the theme Partnering for Prosperity. The summit is an important platform for us to drive commercial advocacy and growth through promoting partnerships.
And our role as AmCham is to facilitate strategic engagement that focuses on truly unlocking the power of private sector in driving economic ties, long-term investment, and also promoting trade.
The United States remains committed to deepening its long-standing economic and commercial partnership with Kenya. Our overall goal in this working group is to have frank discussions that result in policies making it easier for the United States and Kenyan companies to do business.
Kenya recognizes the very critical role played by the private sector in driving not just our economy but innovation, which holds the key to job creation and its contribution to tax revenues that we need to finance public services and public investments. So we therefore seek to anchor our long-term economic ties on a strong platform of business-led partnerships to promote investments while at the same time driving trade. We therefore seek deeper and stronger business-led partnerships with the United States, taking advantage not just of our domestic markets, but more importantly, the bigger sub-regional and continental markets.
In 2012, the United States and the EAC elevated our relationship to a trade and investment partnership to help achieve these objectives. In 2015, we concluded a cooperation agreement on trade facilitation, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, and technical barriers to trade to help EAC countries strengthen core WTO commitments, increase regional trade, and improve competitiveness. This building block approach was intended as a model to expand areas of enhanced cooperation and engagement, eventually leading to a more comprehensive agreement. We remain fully committed to this important partnership with the EAC.
How are you partnering with African governments and partnering with small and medium companies across your value chains to create value and to deliver the brand value that we know is unique to American companies?
The model that we work with as a company is that government is a key stakeholder in enabling us to actually grow. We have a long-term view, building capability with the local traders and also working with partners.
You know, we've built partnerships in the fields of healthcare, energy, transportation, oil and gas, and aviation. We build long-term capabilities. We develop skills and expertise in the countries to be able to deliver services in the long term.
So your plan for post-AGOA and how you're planning also to boost our exports.
The Kenyan exports to the United States is an important part of both the Trade and Investment Working Group deliberations and the overall Prosper Africa initiative. We're trying to bring in all of government focus to this now, and so we're partnering with our colleagues in USAID, for example, as they seek to assist Kenyans to add value to production here, to agri-production or other production prior to export. Then there's a natural role for the Commerce Department then to say, okay, let us try to find U.S. companies that are involved in the upper ends of the value chain, the processing chain or the seeds or whatever, and see if we can promote the opportunities that exist here in Kenya to those U.S. companies to get them involved in a greater way. So that will be a way in which we can combine the efforts and the talents of U.S. government agencies to assist Kenya in growing its AGOA capabilities.
At least what countries need to do in implementing the AfCFTA is first of all to see whether they can make market access offers where they can,
Kenya will be able to export more value-added products, and this will now create an opportunity for the Big Four agenda to thrive, particularly in the area of manufacturing.
It's really a pleasure hosting you here this evening. Thank you so much for turning out in big numbers, not just this evening, but the whole day. I do hope that you have had fantastic chances to not only interact, but to learn something new about what American companies are doing here in Kenya, and more importantly also across East Africa.
USAID in Kenya and East Africa has a pretty big footprint here and a lot that we can contribute to Prosper Africa. For the Kenyan government, we're working closely on their Big Four universal health access. We're supporting universal health coverage with health system strengthening.
We're also focusing on increasing knowledge and awareness among the U.S. business community of the pipelines that donor agencies have.
I'd ask you if you could just comment briefly on the new energy bill and what components of that you think will benefit the private sector developers and financial providers and others to engage more in the market.
I did talk about the instruments, the feed-in tariff, which is in the Energy Act. I have talked about the fiscal regime. I have talked about tax exemptions, the waivers. Those are motivation for private sector investment, and they are all in the current Energy Act.
I think one area I would say that is useful based on this new law that has come in is the element of wheeling charges and more specifically net metering. That's going to encourage a lot the element of solar rooftop services. Many people to take that and be able then, if there is excess, some can be fed into the grid.
You know, as a developer, you're looking at the grid as this kind of monolithic thing where you can interact with it in one way and one way only. I think the energy bill changes a lot of that, and it can create for a lot of very interesting dynamics, both at the smaller sort of commercial industrial scale, but also at the much larger scale, where you can have direct conversations between generators in the tens and 20s of megawatts, hundreds of megawatts, and industry directly.
Businesses here that are highly savvy in technology, are highly savvy in financing, and are looking for opportunities to complement the resources they have from the grid and replace their diesel generators with clean power. The savings for them are clear. Their alignment, with stabilizing their operations to create more jobs and more output is very strong.
We're really proud to be the co-sponsor with AmCham for this particular agribusiness summit.
Agriculture is the largest growing business, and we are scaling that across the continent.
We're working towards a model where we have a lot of the local community involved. We're also helping them to market the produce. That way the risk is diversified, and a lot of the benefit is actually going back to the farmer.
There's a lot of room for investment in agriculture in this country because, as I said, it spurs all the other sectors of the economy, whether agro-processing or the other industry. It's agriculture that actually drives the economy of this country.
If you look at health, healthy adults earn and healthy children learn. There are services the government should not endeavor to provide and should be able to contract from private sector.
We're not investing anything close to what we should be investing at that level of care. Yet that is the foundation for universal health coverage.
We are hoping that when counties came on board, that they are going to invest heavily in the health sector.
Now, for me, the first challenge is time. Every minister of health today in Africa, he's hoping that, within his mandate, he will be able to achieve universal health coverage. The reality is, it's going to take decades.
our mega city approach has got a couple of themes. The first one is an urban renewal theme, where we are looking at all the states. Nairobi has a master plan which is called the New Plan, so we are now in the implementation phase of New Plan.
In real estate, we are currently developing, this year alone, I think we have about 2,500 units under development, out of which about 1,500 have been sold. We sell at a rate of about 100 units a month.
We have been ranked the most profitable revenue-wise in the US. We have done over 400 projects in Africa. In Gabon specifically, we have worked on the master plan of the country there.
We're happy to work with America in developing our technology sector. We want to ensure that all civil servants have access to technology. The data is stored and easily retrievable so that we can be able to provide our citizens with the right services at the right time.
And this data, one of the challenges that we've always struggled with is, what do we do with this data? How do we get the most out of it? How do we help governments? How do we help private sector to really harness the power of data?
We definitely see, technology bringing growth equally across all sectors. I mean, it's not exclusive to one sector. Ultimately, it is a set of tools that would enable, growth and digitally transform existing businesses as well as creating the next big thing.
Manufacturing sector is a key sector in the economy. On health sector, manufacturing of equipments, medical equipments and pharmaceuticals guarantees health. On the affordable housing, we see manufacturing anchoring the building and construction sector because of the construction materials. The other four drivers which need address for us to become globally competitive are, one is the cost of utility. I'm going to now use a word called productivity rather than cost of labor, because that's another driver. And then we're looking at logistics. The last driver is finance, and not only the cost of finance, the availability and tenor.
It really does take one connection, one better understanding of where someone's coming from, where the market is, where that fit is between someone's product and the next big customer, and that could be the difference in a whole region. Kind of give us a synopsis, a little brief on where you see the opportunities are in the country that you are assigned to.
We are looking at many different sectors. You heard just in the previous panel about the work in Uganda to develop the 1.4 billion barrels of recoverable oil in Uganda, and that process between the oil production facilities, the refinery, the world's longest heated pipeline, and the other associated infrastructure projects. The direct investment opportunities in that sector are projected to exceed $10 billion.
In Rwanda, we have launched this year the process to getting an American chamber up and running.
Ethiopia has set up a public-private partnership law, public-private partnership infrastructure for this. They are working through their first energy sector public-private partnerships. They've identified about a half dozen intercity road projects for public-private partnerships. We see that as a opportunity for growth in energy. It's on geothermal, it's on wind, it's on solar.